Hello and welcome to the Trail and Adventure Motorbike Podcast with me, Clive Barber, and my good mate, Noel Tom. For the days when you can't ride your bike, there's always the Trail and Adventure Motorbike Podcast. Hello everybody, we're back. Apologies for the slightly sporadic nature of the episodes that we're launching in the run-up to Christmas. I've just been incredibly busy with my proper job, and as that's the one that pays the bills, it's probably best, right? We've got this episode today, we've got one more episode to come before Christmas. We're also making our third Bikes in Barns film, which will definitely be our best yet, so look forward to that one, hopefully before Christmas. Maybe we'll launch it Christmas Day as a lovely surprise for both of you. Today, we've got somebody we've been trying to record with for ages, but he's such a busy man doing various fun things on motorbikes and travelling. We've just about managed to pin him down for an evening. We are delighted to welcome Andre Bajaria from Peak Motorcycles. It's a cracker. Let's get on with it.
Are you a proficient drone pilot?
No, I'm not. It's like a lot of these things. I know people get really excited about the 360 cameras and stuff, but it's such a ball ache to use. Same with drones, the amount of faffing about you've got to do. I don't make videos for anyone else. I kind of do stuff I'm doing anyway.
What do you put them on YouTube for if they're not for anybody else?
Well, I kind of do them for me. And if someone else wants to watch them, that's good. I don't ask people to subscribe. I don't ask people to turn on notifications.
I've done it once, okay? And they made me do it.
You see those ones and they've got 10 things I hate about the R1300 GS. And I'm like, I haven't got one yet, whoever you are. And I'm not even going to give you the chance to let me find out. It's all bullshit. You know, like, I don't really listen to podcasts. I don't really watch YouTube either. So I'm fucking hopeless at all this stuff. I'm a grumpy old man. I just can't. I've just got no time for that stuff. So when I put videos on, I would never record a day's worth of video and then pick out the bits. You know, my perfect day's filming is a minute to the camera before I set off, 3 clips of less than 30 seconds each with the camera on the bars, camera on my chin, a minute walking around talking about wherever I am, 3 30-40-second clips for the afternoon, and then a clip at the end, and then you can very efficiently edit that into a 6 or 7 minute video. And you need one battery. You don't have to faff about changing batteries. You don't have to worry about running out of memory card space. The files you have to copy off your GoPro are pretty small. And yeah, the number of people I know who say, oh yeah, I got a GoPro, I went and did this amazing trip and I've come back and everything's on a hard drive and I'm never going to look at it ever again. Which is probably just as well, because it'll just be a load of silence.
Well, the worst thing is when they actually put it on YouTube and it's just 4 hours of handlebar footage.
What I have learned, and this is kind of linked in with the drone thing, is that pictures don't matter. I think I said this at the Lightweight Adventures thing. Sound matters. There's a reason why we have a device which is sound but no pictures, but we don't have any device that's pictures, not sound. Well, we do, but they're like paintings.
Well, welcome to the podcast. Lots of sound and no video to look at.
Which is perfect.
If you haven't guessed already, we've got equally grumpy old man. There's 3 of us now. Andre Bajaria.
Close enough.
From Peak Motorcycles. I've got another Brett Goldstein introduction that I've carefully crafted.
Almost entirely unprompted.
I absolutely love these. And I love them so much. I've done one for Noel as well.
It'll be littered with inaccuracies, I can tell you that.
I know the listeners can't see, but I can see that Noel is literally on the edge of his seat. And actually, I was kind of hoping it was going to come in the last episode, not this one, but hey, I get to witness it live.
Brett Goldstein's introductions are always very complimentary, aren't they? Say nice things about people. So I've not been mean about either of you. Well, we'll see. So I'll do Noel first, and we might edit that one out and we'll just leave yours in. We've got Noel. He's a collector, a dry stone waller, a log deliverer, a curator, Honda Museum, a bargain hunter, a contrarian, a listener, a podcaster, a funny man, a Honda man, a GS owner, a big bike wanker. He's my good mate, Noel Tom.
That was awesome. Nice one.
I can't fault any of that, really. That's all fairly accurate.
Shall I do Andre's now?
Yeah.
So, if you don't like any of this, Andre, you'll have to tell me. We can do it again. Welcome to Andre. He's an Austrian, a Zanzibari Indian, a Yorkshireman, a navigator, an engineer, a shepherd, a YouTuber, a motorbike buyer, a motorbike tester, a motorbike farkler, a tour guide. He's a traveller, a retailer, a digger driver, a man with a set of weighing scales. He's a bloody nice bloke, Andre Bajaria.
Thanks, mate. Nice one.
We happy with that?
Yeah, I suppose if I'd said grumpy old man as part of it, you could have stuck that in somewhere, but I'll take the rest of it. That's probably the best compliment I'm going to get all year.
It's the only one you're going to get tonight, that's for sure.
Digger driver. What's the digger driver bit?
Oh, I got a tractor. You know, you live in the countryside, you get a tractor, right? And then the first tractor I got was a sort of a 1980s Kubota. It's fine, but it leaked oil. What I didn't do was measure how tall it was before I got it, and I couldn't fit it in my garage. In fact, I couldn't fit it anywhere. And leaving a 1980s agricultural machine outside all the time wasn't doing it any good. So I swapped it for a Mitsubishi engined compact tractor without a cab that I can fit in my garage, and they did like a backhoe for it.
Wow.
So now I just dig holes in my field. It's so much
bet
fun.
you do.
And I've got a loader on the front from the show, those Ossett electric trials bikes. I don't have a big field, I've got a bit of space. I thought it'd be great just to go and dig some holes, make some ramps, and just muck around on a trials bike.
And you've done that? You've used that to do that?
Oh, God, no, not yet. But, you know, you've got a dream, right? I've got no time at the moment, but one day it will happen. So my name's Andre. I'm, as it was mentioned, half Austrian, half Zanzibari Indian, born and raised in Sheffield, which gives me this slightly odd non-Yorkshire, non-Austrian, non-Indian accent, but I get by. I kind of came to motorbikes by accident when I was quite old, in my late 30s. I was in a pub, bumped into some riders from Italy who were riding across India. I thought I could do that. I then forgot about it, decided I'd probably hurt myself badly if I did it. And then I saw a thing about the Leh Manali Highway in the Himalayas. And I think sometimes when I get an idea, I kind of run with it. So that's why I learned to ride a motorbike, to go and ride the Leh Manali Highway, which I did in 2014. And then I think the plan was to give it up, and I just kept going. So now I try and find ways to do stuff with motorbikes, anything. Track days, motocross, trials, sidecars, flat tracking, traveling the world, fly rides, riding from the UK, tour guiding, making videos about it, going to motorbike shows. I'd like to think I'm not too obsessive, but just thinking back on that list, maybe I do need to get out more and find some other hobbies. I live in the Peak District with my 2 black labs. And why am I here? Well, as I said to you the other day, I'm not really sure why I'm here, but I'll have a guess. I've never quit my job. I've never sold my house. I've never given up everything to go and ride a motorcycle to incredible places. But what I have done is I've tried to fit it around a semi-normal life. If ever I'm going anywhere with work, I'll go out a bit early. I'll rent a motorbike, whether that be to Colombia or Las Vegas. Pretty much wherever I go, motorbikes will open up that part of the world. You get a very different perspective. Anyone will talk to you if you're on a motorbike. Everyone's friendly. I think maybe that's a bit more relatable. I think some of the trips that I've done are things that anyone can do. A lot of them I started doing when I was still working full time. Never done anything that's more than maybe 3 weeks or 4 weeks tops. And I think that's something that anyone can do.
Before that visit to the pub, then, were you one of those strange blokes that wouldn't even disengage from a conversation?
No, you know what?
Cars passed.
No, cars were kind of my thing. I think in my mid-20s, I did think about learning to ride a motorbike. To be honest, I was lucky to get through my 20s in a car, never mind on a motorbike. And I think it's one of those things that right now, I'm never in a rush. And I'm not sure my head was in the right place in my 20s to do that. Hopefully it is now. I've been riding for 11 years now, which I guess isn't that much compared to a lot of people who listen to this podcast. I've had one bad off in that time.
Where were you? What happened?
Brecon Beacons, following my mate on his KTM 1290. Came around a bend, bright orange Ford Ranger pickup truck on my side of the road. That's the last thing I remember. Next thing I remember, I'm lying in a ditch looking at the sky. You do the self-diagnostic, can I move my arms, can I move my legs, can I move my back, can I get up? And then instantly, oh my God, is my bike all right? So I ran to get my bike, which I think had gone into the ditch and popped back up onto the road on its side. Crash bungs ground down to the bolts. Then went back to the poor lady in the Mercedes Vito behind me, who was white as a sheet. And I was like, look, I'm all right. And, I'm just going to get on my bike and get off the road, get to a safe place. And luckily, I walked away.
You were very lucky by the sound of it.
Actually, I think is it called your scaphoid? The heel of your palm. I think I did that in both sides. But the only way I could tell is, it happens to us all, right? Pouring champagne, heavy glass bottles, that sort of tilting motion that puts the weight down on your thumb.
Did you hit it head on then, or just scrape down?
No, I didn't hit it. I'd already tilted into the corner. I think I stood the bike up, high-sided it. They didn't stop. They kept going. I think by the time I actually came off, I was maybe doing 30 or 40 miles an hour, something like that. I think it was probably 50 when I saw it. My guess is I stood the bike up, grabbed the brake, but I have no memory of that. All I remember is seeing this thing in front of me and then seeing blue sky. And then I bought an airbag jacket and I bought some gloves with scaphoid protectors because I thought I'm missing a few things here.
Do you still wear the airbag jacket, or did that?
Depends where I'm going, and I don't wear it for trail riding. If I know I'm going to be doing some motorways and stuff, then yeah.
So we met Andre 2 years ago, over 2 years ago, at an ABR festival, and you were working on the Enduristan stand?
Well, I was kind of lending them bikes. They were very kind. In fact, that was the first year after the COVID cancellations. I think everyone that had a ticket from the previous year had rolled them over, and I quite fancied going. I just got my CRF 300 rally, and they kind of got in touch and said, well, you've done a few videos about our stuff. Could we borrow your bike? We'll sort you out with a ticket. So yeah, I lent them my CRF 300 rally for the stand, and they got me a camping pass and loved it.
So I came over to you. I think I'd just got my CRF as well, and I'd watched all your CRF videos. I was a little bit starstruck.
I'm so sorry.
Bowled up. Oh, mate, it's great to meet you. Love your work. I'm Clive from the Trail and Adventure Motorbike Podcast. I don't listen to podcasts, mate. You could have told me to fuck off. It would have been less painful.
That is a bit of a lie. There was one podcast I listened to for a bit, but it wasn't yours. But I listen to yours now. When I'm on a bike trip somewhere and I'm sitting by the pool, people take those pictures of their feet in the sunshine where everyone else is at work and everybody hates them. I do that, but it's just, I normally have to borrow a phone or a camera so I can actually have the Trail and Adventure Motorbike Podcast on my. I'm not actually listening to it. I'm just taking a picture of it. But still, it's all publicity. If I'm staring at the sand dunes in southern Morocco, it's nice when you're at work to know that people are listening to the podcast somewhere around the world.
We appreciate you. We really do. Let's talk about your YouTube channel then, because it is called, everything you do is called Peak Motorcycles, right?
It is, yeah.
And that covers a variety of things, from your YouTube channel to some of the retail stuff you do as well. I
actually started the channel in 2018 without any real idea or purpose as to why I was doing it. And one of these things that comes up is, what do you call it? How do you find a name for something? It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's the name of a band, title of a book, name of a YouTube channel. And, all the good ones are taken. And I live in the Peak District, and I was astonished to find that not only was Peak Motorcycles not taken on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, peakmotorcycles.com was available. There's no business anywhere else in the world called Peak Motorcycles. Now, we've seen the channel, it's definitely not the peak of everything, and they'd be right. But I live in the Peak District, so it's just I've just stolen the name of the national park.
It sounds like a massive bike dealership in Colorado, doesn't it?
Yeah, some people kind of do that, and then they'll because I sell a few bits and pieces in an online shop, and except when I go touring for three weeks and I put a thing on saying I'm away, I'll post them when I get back. And they said, oh yeah, well we'll come to your warehouse. I'm like, yeah, about that. My warehouse, those plastic boxes I have in the shed. No, it's just me. I don't have people packing stuff for me. I don't have people minding the shop while I'm away. But yeah, so Peak Motorcycles was a thing that it was more of a name before it was anything else. And as I'm sure you've realised, when you start doing YouTube, it's quite hard to get anyone to watch anything. I mean, why would they? And it was only really when I got my CRF 300 rally, didn't know I got one of the first ones outside Thailand, that the first video I did was really popular. And then it was lockdown when there was nothing else to do. Couldn't go touring, couldn't go and do anything else. So I spent a lot of time, and I was unemployed for a long time. Being unemployed and not being able to go anywhere is a great combination if you want to start a YouTube channel. I was doing 2 bits of content a week, every week, pretty much through lockdown. And a lot of people got in touch to say, yeah, we've got nothing else to do either other than watch your videos. It was tough. I mean, some people had it bad, some people had it really bad. I mean, they had to watch me weighing components to put on my CRF 300 rally. And some people love it. Some people got really angry about it. Some people really vented about, can't believe you weighed that. Who really cares? I was like, well, you know what? For every one comment like that, I get someone who says, oh, thanks for weighing that.
Well, it became a thing, didn't it, really?
It did.
You should do a T-shirt with like a weighing scales on it.
You know what? I did think when I was trying to come up with because the first logo I had was it was actually just a sort of stylized photograph of a Schubert helmet that I had. And I thought that looked quite good as dirty helmet as a thing. And then I thought I needed something else a little bit classier with a sort of swirly thing with peak in the middle.
Somebody that doesn't really care about who watches his YouTube videos, you're actually doing pretty well. You've got, and again, even though you don't encourage people to like and subscribe, you've got over 12,000 subscribers.
I know. It's crazy, isn't it?
The remarkable number, in 4 years, you've done something like 350 videos, over 80 a year.
You know what, though? It's actually in 2 years. It's not in 4 years. So I only really started in March 2021.
Is it that constant output of content?
Yeah, you know what? If you want to grow a channel, 2 bits of content a week, every week, you look at the analytics, you look when people are online. So I was put one up at noon on a Friday, one at noon on a Sunday, pick up the US market, the Australian market, and trying to do 2 a week. And at one point I was also doing shorts on a Wednesday, and then maybe doing a talky thing to camera on a Monday evening or a Tuesday evening. But again, when it was lockdown, I had time to do that. I mean, each video, decide what I'm going to do to film the thing I'm doing, especially if I'm trying to do something to a bike. A 1 hour job on a bike takes 4 hours to do it when you're filming it, and then another 4 hours to edit it. And as you might have noticed lately, it's really dropped off just because I've not had time. But then I have things like EICMA, the big bike show in Milan. First went to that 2 years ago. I tried to get on the press day and they were like, nah, you're not coming in. Joker like you. You know, you see all the proper media, the proper motorcycle media, you know, the MCNs, the Visor Downs and the like. They do a sterling job of reporting actual news. So there's no point trying to compete with that because no one's going to come to my channel for that. But EICMA is incredible. I think it's about 6 times the size of the NEC show. It's absolutely vast. And it's, you know, it's not just motorcycle manufacturers, it's electric ice cream tricycles, it's gearboxes, pistons, it's literally anything motorcycle related under the sun. You know, I thought I need to do something a bit different. It was towards the end of lockdown. I think it was November 2021. A lot of people couldn't travel, you know, checking for vaccinations to go in, everybody wearing masks. So I thought, you know what, I'll go around, I'll see how many stands I can do and give people a 5-6 minute look at each stand. Went back again last year, did it again, done it again this year. And last year it about broke even, covered my travel costs. This year it actually looks like, I say it'll make money, but it'll make money as long as I don't count the 40 hours of editing I had to do. More than that, probably 60 hours of editing. But yeah, I did 39 videos in 4 days. And it was absolute torture. It always is. I hate it. Who was on the other day talking about Type 1 and Type 2 fun?
That was Nye, wasn't it? I think.
Nye, yeah.
Yeah.
This is definitely Type 2. I absolutely dread it. I quite like being at the show. I quite like doing the walking around, looking at things, trying to record 39 videos in 2 days. You know, that's probably 20 minutes all day for 2 days, 8:30 in the morning till 6:30 in the evening, without really stopping for lunch or toilet breaks or stuff. And it's big as well. You've got to run between the stands sometimes. And then you forgot to take the photo for the thumbnail.
Did anything really obscure get more attention than?
Yeah, you know what? It's always the odd things that, you know, of all the manufacturers that were there, I think the top video that I've done, CF Moto, 75,000 people in a week, which for a channel with, is it 12,000 subscribers now, something like that? 75,000 in a week is quite a lot. It's a lot for me. I know it's not a lot for YouTube. You see these videos with millions of views. For a relatively, I mean, I don't know if you went to the CF Moto stand at Motorcycle Live. Not that many people were there. Not that many people were interested. I think the second one might have been Hero Motorcycles, the Indian brand. You know, they used to be Hero Honda. I think they've now split with Honda. But it's the same for Motorcycle Live last year. You know, I think I did one from BMW and other places. And AJS was, I think, 50,000 people. You know, AJS, they've got these 125 water-cooled and air-cooled. I guess they're brought in from Japan and they've got some British styling on them. But yeah, that was the biggest video by far. I have no idea what works. Sometimes these things go really well. Sometimes you put your life and soul into thing. You know, I did a series of videos from a tour I did to Kerala in January. Nobody cares. Nobody watched them. I was adjusting the preload on my CRF 300 just after I got it. And it's kind of hard to get to the lock nut, so I had a screwdriver and a hammer. And I thought, you know what? Someone might watch this, and I think that's had 50,000 views. I don't know how many CRF 300 rallies Honda have sold, but might be less than 50,000. Yeah, people come back to look at something like that, which you'd think anyone could do that with a screwdriver and a hammer. But I'm not complaining. I'm grateful to every view. Anyone that comes to watch anything, I'm very much appreciative.
If you had some friends say that, I don't know, for example, did a podcast that had started making YouTube videos, please like and subscribe, what would your advice be to them?
My advice would be regular content. 2 pieces of content a week, every week. But
that ain't happening, listeners.
Well, you say that, but have a gap, right? Don't publish things as soon as you've got them. Get 5 or 6 in the can. You say that? In the bag, in the something anyway, in the cloud.
In the tube.
In the tube. So have like 6 ready to go, and then you don't have to do one a week. You could do like one every other week, and you've got the other one to kind of put in with it. So you do like, I don't know, do an 8-week run.
He's terrible like that, Andre. He's a loose cannon. If he's got it, he just throws it out.
No, and you know, look in the YouTube Studio app, see when people are online. Make sure you put it up when people are online. And I must admit, the first year during lockdown, I got so sick of it by the end of it, and I wasn't enjoying it. As you well know, this does not pay, right? You do it because you like it. I think I like it. I tried to keep it going, and then I thought, you know what, I'm just going to have a break. In fact, at one point, I thought I'm just going to give up. I've had enough. And I think it was EICMA in 2021. After that, I thought, sod this for a game of soldiers. And then I thought, you know what, it's not sustainable to do it all year. So I thought, I'll do 2 4-month seasons. London Bike Show through until the ABR Festival. Then I'll take a break for the summer. Then I'll do September through until Motorcycle Live. And I'll have a break between each one. In the off time, I'm still doing, recording a few things, getting a few things ready so that then when I start, I don't have to do 2 a week. Then again, this year that didn't really work out because I was having too much fun. So I have a big backlog of videos to edit that I'll get to at some point. And I've got a load of parts in my garage that need to go on bikes. I'll get to it at some point. If you're really focused on growing a channel and you really want it to make money, you're probably asking the wrong person, because pretty much all the advice I might be able to give you would be, just how to get things to come along and to have some fun with it. When the fun stops, stop.
Just to be very clear, listeners, you're going to get maximum of 3 podcasts a month and possibly 1 video. But it's a high-quality video. It's high quality. We have a production team now.
I think podcasts are a bit different, though, right? Because people will come back and listen every week. It's like watching a TV show or something. People kind of get hooked and they want to come back and say, I'm not sure, at least not the way I do YouTube. I don't have episodes where it's the same format each time and people come back because they want to see what the next thing is. I think people find my videos because they are interested in a particular bike and they did a YouTube search or a Google search. I mean, that's the thing, finding something and being on the first page of the YouTube, of the Google results, and then people find it and that feeds the algorithm and then it shows it to more people and it grows that way.
You're like a Netflix special, whereas we're like Friends. Do you know what I mean?
I wish I was a Netflix special. Loads of people watch them. Yeah. No, I'm like a Netflix special that nobody watches.
Which one are you from Friends, Noel?
The dead one.
I want to be Chandler.
I like to think I'm the sarcastic one.
What have you got in the garage at the moment?
Oh, I hate this question because someone asked me the other day and I said, I've got a few. And then I think I said I thought I had 8 and I told them, I said, that's 10, don't you?
After 5, it's really hard, isn't it?
I know them now. So shall I get the BBW out of the way? I've got a 1250 GS,
Of course,
which on-road and off-road, got a spare set of wheels for it. Took it rally moto rallying earlier this year. Love it.
What year is that GS?
2020. It was a COVID bike. Ordered back end of 2019. Arrived on the 1st of March. Rode it for 2 weeks. Sawned it for 4 months. That wasn't great, but yeah, no, I love it. I use that for touring.
He loves it. He loves it, Clive. Do you hear that? He loves it. He
You know
rides
what?
loads of bikes, and he loves it.
Everybody bloody loves
I had a
them.
2013 liquid cooled 1200. I had a 2017 liquid cooled 1200. Then I got a 12. I'm not going to be getting a 1300 though because I need to put more miles on this one. And actually, I've dropped this one quite a lot now. I've got Barkbusters on it. I've taken it trail riding quite a lot. It's getting a bit beaten up.
Did you like the water cooled one more than the air cooled one?
I've never had a air cooled GS. I had my first big bike was an R850R. So the baby boxer they used to do, it was a 2004. And I loved that. Took that round, did a lap of the Baltic, went to the Alps a few times on it. It was only about 70 horsepower. I just love the tractor-like agricultural character of a boxer twin. I know it's not everyone's taste. And certainly it looks like a Transformers got friendly with a chicken, most GSs. I mean, they're not pretty things, at least not to me. But I don't have to look at it. It's like living in the ugliest house on the street. I'm sure BMW don't care as long as I keep buying one. Although buying. Anyway, right, CB 1000R, 2015 5-blade engine. That's a 2020 silky smooth Japanese 4, terrifying around the Peak District on 50-mile-an-hour roads. That's probably going to be the one that gets sold to make some space for something new. Honda CRF 300 Rally, got one of the first ones of them. Got a Cove 450 Rally, got one of the first ones of them. Honda CT 125 Hunter Cub Trail just arrived. Still got the plastic on the seat, the tags on the bars. Looking forward to that.
Have you imported that? Because they're not.
It came through 7 Seas, but yeah, they imported it. They'd actually arrived much earlier this year, but they had some trouble getting the speedo calibrated. Looking forward to doing some stuff with that. That's going to be my next YouTube bike. What else? I've done 3 Hondas, haven't I? Got a CCM Spitfire. That's a bit of a hipster bike. Yeah. Just like me.
They look nice, don't they?
And they ride really nice as well. I'd seen them at the bike show so many times, and then I finally took the plunge a couple of years ago. And then I thought, I bought this now. What if it's rubbish? What if I get on it and I hate it? And I don't, honestly. I just grin like a loon whenever I'm riding it. It's what, and the dash is terrible. It's got that suicide side stand that springs up and you can't reach it when you're on the bike. The engine kill switch is in the middle of the dash. You can't reach it with your thumb. So is the start button. So you've got to be a bit organized about what you're doing with your hands and your feet. The rear view mirrors aren't great. I mean, you can't see the dash in the daylight. That's horrendous. It's got that ridiculous little compression lever to get the thing started. I mean, it's got so many things that are wrong with it.
Do you get a wet arse on a wet day on that bike?
I mean, you're assuming I take it out in the wet. If I did,
you get caught out.
I'm sure I would. So it's got an exposed paper air filter. It's got this little sock for getting you home. If you got 9 other bikes in the garage, you're not going to take that out in the pouring rain if you've got a choice. Royal Enfield 411 Scram, the Himalayan without the fairing. Ducati Scrambler 800, had that from new. It's a 2015. And I love it. That 800 V-twin, air-cooled, bare bones simple. It's got the Termi exhaust on it. It sounds mental. It's had the Termi exhaust from new with the Ducati map, so it's not, the fueling's just right for it. And it's brilliant. I just love riding that around the Peak District. How many's that?
8.
BSA Gold Star, one of the new ones. That was a bit of a whim. I was going to buy a Royal Enfield Interceptor, but everyone's got one of them, or a lot of people have. And I don't know, I kind of feel if you've got a bike that looks like that, but you don't want to have to mess around with spanners all the time, one of the new ones isn't a bad shout. Bonneville was a bit expensive for a bit of a toy. And I think a single just goes with that style of bike. How a single feels when you're riding it. And it's the emotional attachment with these things.
I keep looking at the Royal Enfield 350 Classic because you can get a new one for 3,600.
I love that Royal Enfield 3. I mean, we were talking about this the other day. It's like driving a canal barge. It's no powerboat. You're not going to be beating anyone in a race. Milk float maybe. But you know what? For riding around the national parks that we have, it'll do 50 miles an hour and it chugs. And I think the singles really suit them.
I rode Steve Stout's got an old BSA, quite a small engine BSA, and I just rode that round at the ABR festival last year, and it just felt fantastic. I just up and down the camping area. I just came back with just a ridiculous grin on my face because it felt so amazing to ride.
And you know what? We've got 50 mile an hour speed limits nearly everywhere. And I think as the bikes have got bigger, better, faster, more. I mean, I'm walking around the Motorcycle Live, seeing the number of bikes over 20 grand now. It's a lot of money, especially when people are trying to heat their homes and stuff. And I think there's a lot to be said. And what I've loved about this year in particular, it kind of started a bit last year, but both at EICMA and at Motorcycle Live, there's been so many new 300 to 500cc bikes coming out. From the new Himalayan 452, the new CF Moto 450 MT, there's even been quite a few, the ZX4R Kawasaki, is that an inline 4 or a twin? I'm not sure. I know Kova have got a 400cc inline 4 sports bike coming out. And I think the 600s became 650s, became 750s, became 800s and 900s. The thousands became 1100s, 1200s, 1300s. And it's great if you're playing top trumps. I mean, who doesn't want a 230 horsepower sports bike? But very few people can ride one of those without the electronics. And when you can lose your license in first gear, what are the other 5 for? I had to go on the new Triumph 1200 RR, the 1200 triple, and I loved it. I got on this. I thought, yeah, this is what it's all about. And then, coming off a roundabout, trying to be really light on the throttle, looking down, I was doing 70 in a 50 briefly for a few seconds. And I thought, I'd love a bike like this. I just don't know where I'd ride it, and I don't know how long I'd keep my license for. So, 25 horsepower, 20. I think was it the 350? I think it's 19 horsepower.
Or 20, yeah.
People ride all over the world on these 300s. You go to somewhere like India and you see the number of people pottering around on 150s, 160s, 200s even. I mean, I've been to Colombia twice this year and rented a 200cc dual sport. I'm carrying a few extra pounds. Ask anyone who's watched any of my suspension videos, especially the comments.
How rude.
So cruel. And they think they're anonymous, but, I reply to all of them. Thank them for suggesting how I might change my diet or my gym visits. But yeah, you know what? I quite happily rode a 200cc trail bike all over these like muddy roads and back roads in Colombia, and I loved it. I didn't miss having a 450cc enduro weapon to ride or a 1000cc 1300cc adventure bike. I think it's where you are and what it lets you do, not what bike you're on.
We're only up to 9 bikes, Andre. There's one more.
10th one project bike. This was something I've started in its role, and it's the back end of a Virago 1100 that I'm supposedly making into a bobber. I got as far as getting an R6 fork for it, getting a conversion stem, getting all that set up, got about half the electrics done, and then lost interest. It's there for me. Next time I'm unemployed, I'll pick it up. It's rolling at least. My aim, I think, for the next year would be just to get it so at least I've got the switchgear in and running, so I can start the thing, even if it still needs some finishing. I suspect what might happen is one day I'll win the lottery, and then I'll just give it to someone right down and out. Say, here you go. Can you make that into something that looks properly done for me? And they'll say, yeah, it's this much. And I'll go, you know what? No, I'll do it myself, and I'll take it back home, and it'll sit there for another 10 years.
That's your plan with your Honda, Clive, isn't it? You're just waiting for that lottery win to hand it over to somebody else.
I'll probably get it in my 12th year of ownership, I think. That sounds about right, doesn't it? Next year.
And are you continuously charging batteries and draining fuel?
No, so anything I have that's got a drain on it. So a couple of my bikes have trackers on them because the insurance company demanded it, and a few others where I've got some more electronics on. So I have a 6-way adapter strip with, I think, 4 bike chargers plugged into it, and it's on one of those little internet switches. So it comes on for 12 hours on a Monday, comes on for 12 hours on a Friday. So it's not on all the time, but they all come on together. So I've got a little thing in my TP-Link Casa app where I can...
I didn't even know this existed. I'm going around plugging my single Oxford charger into all these bikes, but I can do it, through the internet?
Through the internet?
No. Hang on a minute. People can do it through the internet. That doesn't mean you can do it through the internet. No.
Okay. Right.
I'll send you a link. It's just like a little smart switch thing. Do you have the internet? Because if you haven't got the internet, it's going to be difficult.
It doesn't know what a fucking link is.
I don't even know if you need the internet. It's like if you've got a phone, you've got a smartphone, and you've got internet at home, then it works.
He only got a smartphone about 2 years ago. What do you need that fancy phone for?
No, that's Clive talking, by the way, not me.
I've heard people say that if you leave them on the chargers all the time, it kills the batteries. So I thought, and again, a Yorkshireman, I don't want to be paid to be charging the batteries all the time. A few hours twice a week, I've not lost a battery yet.
So you've also done quite a bit of travelling, haven't you? And you've got a lifestyle more recently that kind of allows you to do it as well. So tell us about some of the trips you've done.
We'll start with the beginning of the end, which was me deciding to learn to ride a motorbike. So I mentioned it briefly earlier. So I was actually in a hill station called Uti in the south of India. I was out with my parents, was on holiday there, and there was a group of Italians who were in this pizza place. Got chatting to them, and they were riding from Chennai to Goa on Royal Enfields. And I think I'd had a beer or two, and I thought, wow, yeah, I could do that. And then by the time I'd been through Mysore and Bangalore, I thought, nah, the traffic's too bad. So saw a thing on the telly, National Geographic, World's Most Dangerous Roads, Leh Manali Highway. Thought, there's no traffic, I'll do that. And that was kind of the travel thing. So it always was travel. So I found a company, I called them up, said, look, can I come and do this trip? They said, of course you can. What bike do you ride? And I said, don't laugh, I've never even sat on a motorbike. And there was a sigh, bless him. And he said, well, why don't you try that and give me a ring back? So did that, rang him back. He said, right, do your test, call me back. Called him back. He said, well, you missed it for this year, but we wouldn't take you anyway. Go and do some travel. So that was kind of when it started. So I think I did a tour to Scotland, then a tour like 4 days, 5 days down to the Ardennes, then 2 trips to the Alps, and then persuaded my friend Matt to go and do a lap of the Baltic. So he went up when the old Esbjerg ferry was running out of Harwich, and then down to Kiel and got the ferry to Klaipeda in Lithuania, went up over to Helsinki, Åland Islands, Sweden, Norway, back to Denmark and home. And after that, the next year, went and did my Himalayan trip. And then I would have stopped, except I kind of kept going. And so, yeah, I did a few more trips around Europe, went and did a terrifying trip to Bolivia in 2017. I only wanted to go and ride on the salt flats. Nobody told me that maybe learning to ride enduro might have been useful. I mean, I know the Dakar had been there, but, well, you never know, do you, until you get there. I had a very patient guide there who, when he asked me what my off-road experience was, I think he sighed a little bit. But I didn't die. Thought I was going to die a few times, but, yeah, I made it through that. And just loads of other places, really. I got a job as a guide, which is working for, can I plug them? I'm sure I can. Magellan Motorcycle Tours, lovely chaps. The owner, Felix, he came and he stayed got a holiday cottage here in the Peak District and saw the bikes in the garage. I think initially he thought I might be a customer. And then when I looked at where they went, I've been to a lot of those places myself. So, they said we're looking for guides. So I've done a few trips with them. Been down to the Balkans a couple of times, which was great fun. This year I've been to Corsica and Sardinia with a group, and then just recently been to Morocco. Ferry down to Spain, 3 days across Spain, 12 days in Morocco, and then back again.
So these are Magellan organised guided tours?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, it's all road. I think people go and do it for the social side. They have a lot of repeat customers who come back time and time again. That's one opportunity for me to travel with a motorbike. And then aside from that, I do quite a lot of stuff on my own. So this year has been exceptional for a variety of reasons, but I tried to keep as busy as I could. So I was in Kerala in South India for 3 weeks in January doing a tour around there, which I loved. There's something quite nice about the end of the day, getting to a hotel and the Indian Ocean is on your doorstep and it's 29 degrees in the water. It's just bliss. And then I was back for a while, and then I went to Corsica and Sardinia, got soaked, got rained on nearly every day going down through France. I think Sardinia was dry, but it rained everywhere else. Went to Colombia for a mate's wedding, rented a trail bike out there, did a couple of days riding, came home, went out to the US, the tail of the dragon on the Tennessee, North Carolina border, met up with a group of friends out there, rented a Triumph Tiger 1200. Oh, there's so many amazing biking roads out there. It's probably sports bike heaven. They've got these roads like the Blue Ridge Parkway and the Charahala Skyway, and they're basically built roads through the woods along these ridges. And there's no towns, there's no stoplights, traffic lights, that's what we call them. No buses, no trucks, no police. And some of these are like 40, 50 miles, and it's like racetrack width, amazing sight lines. I loved it. What have I done since then? That would have been then. Summer went back to Colombia, did a couple more days, thinking of running some tours out there. I'll plug that later. And then the autumn has been Morocco that I mentioned. And before that, I was in San Francisco for a conference. So I rented a Yamaha.
I really do wish I had an S-Lane.
XSR 900. I tell you, to try and ride anything other than a Harley in the US is really hard. But I found Eagle Rider in San Francisco had a Yamaha XSR 900, the MT-09 sort of classic version. So I went down to Big Sur on Highway 1. That was kind of fun. Been home for a couple of weeks. Went to EICMA, not on a bike, just to look at bikes. Went to Motorcycle Live just to look at bikes. And now I'm home for a bit. And then fairly shortly, I've got one more trip and then I'm done for the year. You don't want to know, do you? Going to go to South Africa. So then next year, a few things planned. So with Magellan, I'm going away to Romania in the summer for 3 weeks. Unfortunately, that clashes with ABR and the exceptional festival that is the Lightweight Adventurers. So I'll be missing those. Sorry, Jamie and Mark.
It's not just Jamie and Mark, it's everybody's going to miss you.
There's always YouTube, right? I'll be hanging around on it. Before that, there's a couple of things. So recently, for a long time, there was a derelict pub down the road from me near Bamford called the Rising Sun, and they've put this brand new bike and boot hotel on it. And I just after they opened, I went and had a look around, and it's really nice. It's all brand new. They have a covered motorcycle parking area at the back. It's not enclosed, but they've got these big umbrellas and motorcycle signs on it. So I was chatting to them and I said, do you think, I could run a motorbike event from here? So on the April 12th to the 14th, they've done me like a group rate. And I'd sort of put a thing up saying if anyone wanted to come and have a thing to kick off the season. It's the weekend after the schools have gone back, so the roads should be a bit quieter. I think I've got 11 people signed up so far for that. If anyone's interested, look me up, Peak Motorcycles on Instagram, shameless plug. After that, I'm currently in discussion with, in fact, can I talk one more thing about travel? So the problem with travel is that people have lives and families and mortgages and work and limited time off. So the reason why I kind of tag these journeys on when I've got other things is because that's kind of how you can fit it in. A lot of fly rides are really expensive. I've seen some of them and, they are eye-wateringly expensive and they're out of reach for most people, including me. And I love going to places where it's cheap to ride bikes like India because the bikes are cheap, fuel's cheap, food's cheap, accommodation is cheap. I'm sure everyone has listened to Fern's podcast when Fern was on the podcast talking about, the fact it's cheaper than some package deals. I think I'm not quite at the level that she's, because she really researches these things and does these things really well. I'm kind of one step of laziness above that, maybe 2 or 3 steps of laziness above that, which is, I try and find local companies. So the company that I've been with a few times in Colombia this year, I was talking to them. Colombia is an amazing place. It's not really a place where a lot of people go riding motorbikes. It's not that developed everywhere, but the cities are like European major cities. So Medellin is where I was based. And in about 1,200 to 1,500 kilometers, you can ride 4,000 meter mountain passes, you can ride through jungle, you can do canyons, you can do desert. So from talking to the company out there, we've toed and froed a bit on what a package might look like with hotels at the beginning and at the end, all the accommodation, the support vehicle, SIM card with data, and the rental of a bike. And it's coming in at about £1,200 for a week. So you could fly on a Friday night from London, arrive in Medellin Saturday morning, leave Sunday morning, ride till Friday, sort of lunchtime, early afternoon, have a couple of nights out on the lash in Medellin, and then fly home and literally just take 1 week off work. And it's £1,200 on, they call them an AKT, so an AKT 200, which is what I rented. If you want to go at market and get one of the Hondas, it's not a CRF, but I think it's an XRE 300, the South American version of it. That's another 300, so about £1,500. But still, that plus your flights, which pretty much covers everything, I think's quite reasonable. So I've provisionally blocked a couple of weeks with them, first 2 weeks in May. So if people are really tight on holiday, you could have 4 days off work because it includes the early May bank holiday Monday. And you could have 9 days riding in South America for £1,200 plus a flight. So certainly well under £2,000, which it's not a cheap holiday. You can get bundles up, but travel seems to be expensive everywhere these days. And I think it's somewhere that not many other companies are going. It's not something I'm really doing as a business. I'm not really making anything from it. But if it means I get to go and ride there for a couple of weeks a year, that's kind of the thing that I love doing.
I'm thinking I might edit this bit out until I've got permission to come myself. Then let listeners know at a later stage. I'll do you a free advert in a forthcoming episode after I've paid my deposit.
It's small groups as well because it's limited by the number of bikes, and I think it's one of those things you don't want to do as a big group. But I think he said that you could do 5 plus, and that's with a guide, and plus me just tagging along as well. If I can get 10 people and do 2 weeks, then I only have to buy 1 flight, which helps.
Well, for that money, you'll get people very easily, I would have thought.
I think so, yeah. So I need to do a bit more work because I've recorded the videos from the 3-day rides that I've done out of Medellin. I need to edit them and get them published. I think maybe that would help a bit. It's not hard enduro, it's not Romaniacs. You think you're on a road. It's a bit like green laning on some of the better lanes until it rains, and then it can be a bit of a mud bog. But it's not camping. It's staying in hotels. I'm working with the guy who actually runs the outfit out there. He's Spanish. I've been spending a lot of time on TripAdvisor and Booking.com and saying, this place said it was a bit noisy. He said, all right, well, there's this place as well, and it's like a farm stay in a national park, which looks brilliant. There's a few like hot springs and stuff where you can just go and leap off the bikes to cool down. I have high hopes that Colombia will be the next big thing.
Yeah, nobody book on that. Sounds shit.
You'd love to do that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, tempted. Yeah, that sounds amazing.
It's not my business even. It's all going to be done through Medellin Motorcycle Tours, I think they're called. They're just lovely people and they've got the bikes there. And the fact you can do it in a week, I think that was kind of the thing for me. There's not that many places where you can go and you can get that variety in a week of ride. And it's not even that big a distance. It's probably 200 kilometers a day, but with a mixture of like dirt roads, a bit of tarmac to get out the cities. But after that, it's just, and you're going through coffee plantations with hummingbirds and palm trees, and then suddenly you're at 4,000 meters and you can't breathe because there's not enough oxygen.
No, you'd love it as well, but you're just too fucking tight to pay for it. Oh, say something. Don't just sit there and smile. Say something.
Yeah. There are a few obstacles to overcome.
And you know what? If you're loving riding your bike here, why go halfway around the world for it?
So you're selling it as a week. I want to go for 3 weeks. Yeah.
And you know what? I'd love to. I mean, I do 3-week trips. My Magellan trips to Romania is 3 weeks. I think Morocco is 3 weeks. But a lot of people don't have that luxury. I feel very lucky that I can take 3 weeks off and disappear on a motorbike. But until a lot of people are retired, they don't have that.
The thing is, Noel, you could go out there with Andre for a week and then just stay on, couldn't you? Once you got the lay of the land and you know which side of the road to drive on, and just go off on your own for a couple of weeks.
How to order coffee.
And you know what? It's a cheap place to be. Some of the cities are getting a bit expensive now because they have a lot of foreign visitors. But the place we stopped for lunch on one of the days, we had basically their equivalent of a full English, except it was a grilled tomato. It was some spicy beans rather than baked beans. There was a pork sausage. There was a bit of spiced ham, a bit of rice instead of toast, I suppose. You feel like you've really gone somewhere. You get people who ride the length of the Americas that pass through there. But I don't think that many people go there for a motorcycle tour, especially not for a week. Who knows? Maybe I'll move over there and just do back-to-back trips all year round. And Medellin is the city of eternal spring. It's always 15 to 18 degrees at night, and it's always 20 to 25 degrees during the day, all year round. The leaves never fall off the trees. It's spring all year round. It's bizarre.
You had me at sausage.
You've been to EICMA. We met up at Motorcycle Live. What trail and adventure motorcycles kind of really stuck out to you as being significant?
So last year at EICMA, one of the bikes for me was in fact, I'd never even heard of Cove. I think some people have seen call them Cove, but there's no accent on the E, so I'm sticking with Cove. Cove was a Chinese brand owned by a pro motocross rider out there who's very passionate about motorcycles. They made a rally bike that was on display last year, and I bought one. They're now they've got European homologation. They're selling them all over Europe, and it was £8,500 for what's essentially a 450cc rally bike with 31 litres of fuel. So they were there again. They've got a new 800cc adventure bike coming out, 800cc parallel twin. The engine looks a lot like the BMW 800 twin. Maybe it's the KTM 790. Engine, I think, that's in there, or a derivation thereof, and that is 165 kilos dry in its rally form, 20 horsepower more than a Tenere 700, 20 kilos lighter. I think if those make it to the UK next year, I think those will be very popular. At the smaller end of the market, the new Himalayan 452 has been getting lots of coverage in the media. Itchy Boots has had one. I think they had a big kickoff at Everest Base Camp, and normally that would have been the bike in that category. It's great to see they've put upside down forks on it. They've got tubeless wheels available in the rally version. There's lots of tweaks to improve on the old model. It's about 40 horsepower, which is enough for most things. Still pretty heavy, I think 200-ish kilos. However, CF Moto, who I guess they're still not that well known in the UK, but they've been in partnership with KTM for a long time. They're making the KTM 790s for the global market. I think they're making the engines for the 890s. And they had their bike there. It's called a 450 MT, which is, again, very similar to the Himalayan. Looks a bit more up to date. Doesn't have the styling cues that I guess Royal Enfield carried over from the old Himalayan to the new one. And I thought that looked great. I mean, I'm really interested to see how these things are priced, because if these bikes come out at $5,500-6,000, I think they're really going to shake things up. The CRF 300 was 27 horsepower. It's great as a trail bike. If you want to cross Europe on it, you can do it. You just got to pick your roads. 40 horsepower just gives you that little bit more. I mean, they are a bit heavier. They're not lightweight trail bikes. But I think in terms of what people are looking for in adventure bikes, I think not everyone wants a 1300 GS or a 1290 KTM or a Panigale engined Multistrada.
I'm just looking at the picture of the CF Moto 450 MT. I mean, it looks proper. It's got a 21-inch front wheel. It's got spoked wheels. It's got decent ground clearance. Is this the bike that KTM should have been making for the last 10 years?
Yes, this is what the KTM 490 Adventure should have been. And I don't know whether KTM binned the 490 platform because they knew that CF Moto were working on this, or maybe they just thought, you know what, we've got because I think there's even a KTM 250 Adventure. So now they've got a 125, a 250, a 390, 690, 790, 890. The new 990 is back again in the Duke. 1290. There's a lot of 90s going on there. So yeah, maybe they thought that's not a market they want to compete in. But really, until the Himalayan came out this year, there wasn't really anything like that. There wasn't a 200 kilo, 40 horsepower adventure bike that had a decent spec you can actually take trail riding. And if they're cheap, the outgoing Himalayan was what, 4.2, 4.3, something like that. So even if it's $1,000 more than that, if they're $5,500, if they're the same price as a CRF 300L, $1,000 cheaper than a CRF 300 Rally, then yeah, I think the other manufacturers are going to have to sit up and pay attention. There was a bike, it's not new, it's been around in Europe. I think it was certainly in Eichmann when I was there in 21, but they're fairly new to the UK, and it's the Vosges 300 Rally. I think they're like £3,300. They're not amazing. The suspension's a bit ropey, and I think they look good enough. And actually, that's the sort of bike that would get people trail riding. You could walk into a dealer and get one. You know, you don't have to, there's no wait for them like there is for the CRF 300s. And I got to ride one at the ABR festival, and I loved it. It doesn't have fancy suspension. The dealer support isn't great. It's a relatively unknown brand, but you know, it came with a rear rack and with some crash bars and with a USB charger. For that money, I don't know if there's anything else that comes close.
Do you think no matter how good a bike is, if it's an unfamiliar brand to people, there's still a lot of hurdles to overcome?
There are, absolutely. And I think it's going to take something like, you know, something big where people actually think, actually, you know what, this is all right. I mean, I had a look on some of the Facebook groups and things about the Vosges to see if I could find any criticism, and the owners rave about them. I love my 300 Rally, but you know, I had to spend another few £100 doing the suspension. I got the Andriani cartridges for the forks and a rear shock as well, and it rides much better now I've done that. But I think that was another £1,000 or so just on the suspension. The CRF 300 has its problems stock, and there's a queue for them. You know, you have to wait in a dealer to get one. The paint on mine started rubbing off by the foot pegs, I think, after the second ride, and it's very much, oh well, they all do that. I'm not sure when that became just a perfectly acceptable thing for a bike to do on a Honda with Honda's reliability. How dare they put thin paint on the frame?
I would say though about the Vosges, it got a fairly poor review in MCN.
I suppose a counterpoint to that, I don't know if you know Nathan the postman, Dorothy's Speed Shop, and the stuff that he does.
Yes, of course, he's got one.
He's got one, and he's taken it all over. And you know, he knows a bit about small bikes. He runs those demo days where you can try, you know, ride 5 different bikes in a day. And I'm not saying that MCN have got it wrong. Of course, it's an opinion. It's not a fact, much as mine is. I'm not saying it's an amazing bike. I think it's got a lot of problems, and there's a lot of things that aren't great on it. But it's just over £3,000. You know, there's not a lot of bikes you could buy for just over £3,000. We've got so little choice. There's such a small amount of choice when it comes to small, lightweight trail bikes in this country. And if it gets people out riding, then I think it can only be a good thing. You know, they'll start on that and they'll move on to something else.
That said, Noel, probably the only person in the country that's got a GS and a CRF for less than £3,000. As in both combined.
That is pretty good going. So maybe that's the answer. Don't buy a Vosges, buy a CRF and a GS. Do you want to ask me about spanners?
I've forgotten all about the spanner thing.
I've a comedy spanner.
I just love the fact that you obviously fucking listen to our podcast more than we do. You remember things that we've actually said.
You know what? This is a lesson in do not eBay when you're drunk.
What's your biggest spanner, Andre?
My biggest spanner is a 115 millimeter
Fuck
comedy
off!
spanner.
No way!
What?
Come on, proof.
Hang on.
No.
Oh, bloody hell!
Look at it. That's gorgeous. It's got patina, which we've never seen on a spanner. It's got patina.
You know what? So I set an... I'm going to put that down because it is really... I mean, I could use that for like doing weights. But it's just less than a metre long.
115. Is that a new record? I think it is.
I set an eBay search for massive spanner. I think it's big spanner, under £10. That was my criteria. It was actually at the London Bike Show, and I think I'd been out for a few beers in the pub, and then I forgot that I'd bought it. And then about a week later, the postman came trudging up the garden path lugging this box. And then I remembered that I actually got quite cross because as the auctionman in me who bought his £10 spanner on eBay, and then it was 25 quid. And I remember being quite cross, but I thought, well, so yeah, it was £15 postage.
Our biggest previous spanner was an 85mm, so I think you've got the new record. Congratulations. It was worth the 25 quid.
I actually looked to see if I could get 115mm nut and bolt. Just so I got something to do with it. And they were cripplingly expensive.
There we go. A massive thanks to Andre for doing that. What a lovely man he is. If you ever see him out and about, be sure to chat to him. He's always got some fun things to say. And also check out his YouTube channel. Search for Peak Motorcycles on YouTube, especially if you have a bike like a CRF that he's actually owned. He does some really good stuff on there with parts and things to do on the bike. Couple of points of clarity from Andre. AGS bikes are in fact made in China, not in Japan. And the company in Medellin that he's talking about, or Medellin it's spelled, I always thought it was Medellin. It is called Moto Ride Medellin, not Medellin Motorcycle Tours. And then also the event that Andre is arranging in Colombia. I'll put some information on our Facebook group. I'll put a link on there for you. It sounds absolutely fantastic. The costs are going to be more like $1,400 rather than the $1,200 that he initially spoke about. But yeah, have a look at that. See you next time. Hopefully next week, possibly the week after. We'll see how the work goes. Love you. Bye. Thanks for listening. We really appreciate your support. Don't forget you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And if you really appreciate what we do, you could consider supporting us on Patreon or buy us a coffee. Links are available on our website, which is tampodcast.com, tampodcast.com, where we also have a limited selection of branded stuff. But either way, please keep listening and spreading the word. See you next time.